Hi, and welcome to week 10 of The Grid. I'm Mike Forman, joined as always by Ray Castillo. We're going to dive right into it. Baseball season's over now, so you can turn your full attention to high school football, and we're getting down to it, Ray. This week and next week, and then the playoff starts. And let's go right away to District 15 5A Division 1. Some big games this week for local teams. We'll start Friday, where West plays host to Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial. Almost virtually a must-win situation for the Warriors there if they want to get in the playoffs.
Yes, and West has all the momentum, you could say, in the world right now,
Mm-hmm.
coming off a huge win over Flower Bluff. The Warriors, really needed that win, and they went and got it. And they'll see if they can, repeat that success against Veterans Memorial, another team that has been so dominant in district play. But yes, West still is very much alive. Right now, they're in the playoff race. So they're really going to need to see what happens. If they can get that win and rely on some other teams, losing, that's really going to help them. And you look at East, same situation.
Mm-hmm.
The benefit for East, though, is if they do win against Moody, which is on Saturday, and West comes up short against Veterans Memorial, they can get in due to the tiebreaker
Right.
from those two teams playing earlier this season.
Well, West is also in a good position if it wins because it will have the tiebreaker over both Veterans Memorial and Flower Bluff, should it end in a tie with those teams. Veterans Memorial, we should point out, their losses have come to Miller last week. I believe it was double overtime, quite a game. And then earlier in the season, they lost to Flower Bluff. But to be fair, in that game, they were missing. The Eagles were missing their quarterback, so they've shown lately they're more explosive than they were earlier in the year. I think West, the key for West, obviously, is going to be defense. I think they're going to have to slow down Veterans Memorial, who obviously put up a lot of points against Miller, but Miller was able to overcome that. And East, of course, is playing a kind of a rare Saturday afternoon game. Interesting. 3 o'clock start at Memorial Stadium. They have the Moody Trojans, who mathematically still have a shot at the playoffs. So the interesting thing is East will know when it goes into the game how West did. So
Right.
if West should lose, then obviously East will have every incentive to take care of business. Now, if West wins, that doesn't necessarily knock East out. It doesn't help East's chances. But you never know. I mean, West has to play next week against Corpus Christi, Ray, on the road.
Yes, a team that East has just finished, defeating on Friday in a real emotional game for the Titans, playing for their injured teammate Hayden Sites. And they came through. It was a slow start for both teams, but East was able to come away and have a big fourth quarter. So, you look at a situation like that, East defeating Moody and West defeating Veterans Memorial. East would need West to lose against Ray.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's going to be, I think I can see West taking care of Ray. So
right.
a lot of opportunities there for the Warriors and Titans.
Right. Well, a lot of eyes on Memorial Stadium this week, and and looking at playoff races right down the road in Port Lavaca, Calhoun has a huge game this week. They go up to San Antonio to play Southside. Southside just defeated Alice, which actually helped Calhoun. So this week's a big week for the Sand Crabs. They play at Southside while Alice plays Cal Allen. So those two games are going to shake up a lot because next week, of course, in the finale, Calhoun will be playing Cal Allen. And the interesting thing about Southside is Southside beat Calhoun last year. Now, granted, quarterback Connor Kessler did not play in that game, so we should mention that. But this is not a game that Calhoun can take for granted. Ricky Locke up at Southside has done a tremendous job up there, and with a few exceptions, they played. Southside has played very good defense. So this might be a first test that the Calhoun offense has had. I mean, Calhoun has scored at least 50 points in every district game, so nobody has stopped Calhoun. And be interesting to see what happens with Southside.
Yeah, and Connor Kessler is a big part of that success for Calhoun this season. So with him in the picture, definitely should be a different outcome than last year. But you never know. Southside has played really well, but Coach Whitaker is going to have those guys ready.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they haven't forgotten last year, and
Mhm.
they don't want to let it mess them up because if they beat Southside, then they go into next week's game against Cal Allen, which is at St. Crab Stadium. They'll go into that game with a shot at the the district championship. So they definitely don't want to falter along the way. And moving over to Edna Cowboy Memorial Stadium, that'll be the home of the St. Joseph Flyers again as they continue district play. They got their first win, district win last week against Fort Bend Christian, and they'll take on Houston Westbury Christian this week. Another big game for the Flyers, who basically, if they win their last two games, should get the third place playoff berth, I would think.
Right, and yeah, like you said, Mike, the big win for St. Joseph, getting that first district win out of the way. A lot of players played really well, especially the backfield. And Westbury has struggled over the season. They're 1-7 coming into this game, so St. Joseph, they do what they need to do. They should, be on the right path to trying to get that playoff berth.
Right, and we have a number of big games around the area. There's one that won't necessarily, affect the district standings, but I mean, one that probably, I think, one of the best rivalries in the state of Texas. The El Campo Ricebirds going down to Bay City to play the Bay City Black Cats. This will be the 116th time these teams have played in the 100th consecutive year. Just amazing, this rivalry. It's been some great games. And this will also be the final game at Bay City's Memorial Stadium. Bay City will be in its new stadium next season. They were hoping to get in this year. It didn't quite work out. But I guess it's fitting that you would close the old stadium with a game like this, El Campo and Bay City. Of course, El Campo's 7-1 this year. Its only loss was to Needville in district. If El Campo wins this game, next week it plays Columbia, and that game, if Columbia wins this week, that game could be for second place in district. So a lot riding on this for El Campo. Of course, Bay City, if they could somehow pull off a win, that would really almost, I don't want to say make their season, but it would make their season a lot easier to digest. And moving on, another game that we should mention, Cuero Gobblers, the defending state champions. Boy, they have to go to Geronimo to play Navarro, ranked number 8 in the state. Navarro just coming off a big win over Wimberley, and it was a pretty convincing win. Cuero must beat Navarro and Wimberley next week to get in the playoffs. So the Gobblers are aware of what they have to do, and Travis Reeves said they've been in that situation before and they've come through. Be a difficult task.
Yeah, and coming off that big win over Ralston Eastside Memorial, hopefully that'll throw some momentum towards the Gobblers. And with Travis Reeve at the helm, you always got a chance.
Right, and of course we want to look right down the road here on Friday night in Vanderbilt. District 14 3A Division 1, Hallettsville and Industrial, both of them 3-0 in district. Really big game. It's funny, I talked about this earlier, but these two teams last year were playing for 4th place, and the loser was out, and here they are. They could be playing for the district championship. Now, that's not a certainty because, see, if Edna wins and Industrial wins, then next week Edna and Industrial would play. And if Edna could win that game, there'd be a chance for a 3-way tie for the district championship. But anyways, you have this week's game is going to be a very big game because if Hallettsville wins, it's a top seed no matter what. So what are you looking for from this game, Ray?
Yeah, look for the Brahmas to continue what they've been doing all season, just coming out and playing really well. They're really, even though their numbers might be short, they're really, catching on at the perfect time and just playing really well. And Industrial should be a good game. I mean, the success they've had this year under Jamie Dixon, Pensick doing a great job with Hallettsville, and it should be a good one. It show why these two teams are at the top of the district.
Right, and of course, other games in that district, you have Edna and Goliad and Yoakum and Luling. You know, if Yoakum were to defeat Luling, no matter what happens in Edna and Goliad, next week's game between Yoakum and Goliad would determine the fourth place playoff berth.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting there. I mean, you know, Goliad struggled all year. But Goliad could be, you know, will be in a situation where it still has a chance to make the playoffs, and of course Yoakum is in the same position. And East Bernard is pretty much taking control of District 14-3A Division 2, but Ganado right now and Schulenburg and Tidehaven are kind of in a situation where they're playing for second place. And this week we have Ganado and Tidehaven playing a really big game down there, because if Ganado wins, the next week's game against Schulenburg, which has a bye this week, will be for second place in that district. And you know, you never know going forward how your seeding takes you or what bracket it puts you in. Yeah. But generally speaking, you like to get the higher seed.
Right. Yes, and that's going to come down to it, because you never know. Matchups are everything in the playoffs that we've seen in the past, and these teams are going to want to play someone that they feel like they can have a competitive advantage against. So, should be a good game. You know, Coach Bennett over at Ganado, you know, knows Tidehaven being formerly at Bay City, right, real close to each other. So it should be a good game.
Yeah, Coach Bennett's done an excellent job of really kind of resurrecting that program at Ganado, getting them back up to in playoff contention, and it's going to be interesting because Ganado is going to might be going back to Class 2A next season, so we'll have to wait and see. But he definitely has the program going up, and we'll take a look at that. Another game every year, these two Lavaca County rivals, Shiner St. Paul and Hallettsville Sacred Heart, go at it again. Last year was kind of interesting. They actually split. Sacred Heart won the district game, and you know, and they were the district champions. And then it comes down to the semifinals, and St. Paul defeats Sacred Heart and goes on to win the state championship. So when these guys get together, I mean, anything can pretty much happen.
Yeah, it's a big rivalry between the two teams. You know, both teams are going to want to play their best, obviously, when they, not saying they don't, but they're going to really want to show up for this, knowing it's going to be a packed crowd. And Coach Walksmith had his guys ready for when it mattered the most in the playoffs last year. But yeah, should be another close game.
Yeah, and this will be Sacred Heart coach Manny Freeland's his first game against St. Paul, so he'll get his first taste of the rivalry. So we'll see how that one comes out, because the winner of that game is most likely going to be the district champion. They each have one more game, but I would say both of them are in a good situation. Whoever comes out of that could win the district. And like we said, we have one more week of district play. This week we have actually have a couple of ranked teams that aren't playing. We have Shiner on a bye and Flatonia on a bye. And our other ranked teams, Refugio will be at Ben Bolt. Fall City will play Dehanis. And of course we mentioned Calhoun will be going up to San Antonio Southside. And then we have a new ranked team this week, Ray, the Beeville Trojans, 9-0, and they're looking to finish district at 10-0. They play Pleasanton this week. Just an amazing job there by Chris Sosa down in Beeville, and they could finish out the season at 10-0. But once again, we want to remind you to follow us on Twitter and to keep up with Advo Sports during Friday night. You can catch all the scores and keep updated with what's going on. And again, if you have any questions, shoot us an email or a message on Facebook. We'll do our best to answer them. And then you can get more details, of course, in the e-edition and Avo Sports, or again on Sunday in the Grid. And then, of course, we'll be back for the final week of the regular season with another edition of the Grid.